Welcome to the PC Media conference call. I would now like to turn the meeting over to Mr. Simon Jeffries. Please go ahead, Mr. Jeffries.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us here today. We're joined on the line by Vic Fedeli, the MPP for Nipissing, and Doug Ford, the leader of the Ontario PC Party. Given the high volume of interest in today's call, we're going to limit each participant to one question. I'm going to now turn over the phone to Mr. Fedeli.
Hey everybody, welcome to the call. It's been an exciting leadership race, and I'm going to tell you it's my absolute pleasure to introduce our new Ontario PC leader, Doug Ford. I have to also tell you how proud I am that our party's come together over the past week under Doug's leadership. We're ready to work, ready to make life better for Ontario. In talking with our caucus, you can really tell by the buzz and the excitement that everybody is looking forward to doing their part to ensure Doug is our new Premier of Ontario. And Doug, I want you to know I look forward to running under your banner as I seek another term as MPP right here in Nipissing. Shameless plug here. I've been a proud Northerner all my life, lived here all my life, Doug. And throughout the leadership race, I want everybody to know that Doug showed himself to be a very strong voice for the North. And we know that we need this desperately under Kathleen Wynne and the Liberals. We all know that the North has been abandoned and we're hurting here in the North. We're looking for real change, and only Doug Ford and the Ontario PC Party can deliver the change we need. Now I'm going to invite our new Ontario PC leader, Doug Ford, to say a few words. Doug?
Hey, Vic. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for that kind introduction, Vic. I have to tell all the people in the North what a leader you've been. You've been steering the ship in the North and being their representative, being their voice, so we appreciate it. I also believe we have MPP Ross Romano on the phone from Sault Ste. Marie. Ross, are you there as well? I think Ross is joining us. But again, thank you, Vic. You've done a great job for the party, as we know, and you're the fighter for the North. And I know, we're all going to hold Kathleen Wynne accountable at Queen's Park when we get elected, along with our other great Northern candidates, which is Chief Clifford Bull, what a great guy, Troy Crowder, and Norm Miller, Derek Parks, Greg Rickford, and Andre Robichaud, along with Ross Romano, that will be joining us shortly. The Ontario PCs, my friends, will be a strong voice for the North, and when I traveled up there, I crisscrossed Ontario. I listened to the concerns, and we're going to be your champion. We're going to fight for the North. During the PC leadership, it's interesting. You can sit back and until you actually get up in the North and listen to their concerns, I think the rest of Ontario doesn't realize some of the struggles that we have up there. And the people, you're incredible. Do you know what I love, Vic, about the people of the North? They're down to earth. They're hardworking. They're honest people, but they're struggling. And we have to be there to support them and put the whole team around you, Vic, and the other candidates up there to make sure they have a loud voice. And what we've seen under the Kathleen Wynne and the Liberals, the North is being ignored. The Liberals have even called the North a no man's land. Do you believe that, Vic? It's unbelievable. No man's land. Oh, I didn't
Sadly, that's what they think of us.
Yeah. Well, we're going to change that. And families in Northern Ontario are ready for a change, and that's what I heard when I was up there. And my friends, the Ontario PCs, are going to bring change, bring positive change back to the North there. Leadership's races, I can tell you, they're tough. And they're even tougher when you're going up against friends and fellow allies. And I'm just glad to see everyone's come together over the last week. And our party is stronger than ever. Our party is united with one goal in mind, and that's sending Kathleen Wynne and the Liberals packing. And I've always stood up. I've always stood up for the little guy. And today, I want the little guy to know that there's hope against a government that has made life unaffordable. And I heard that same story no matter what town or what city I went to. It's hard to even afford hydro bills. But while the Liberals and all their insiders, and I call them all the cronies, have grown rich for 15 years, taking money from the pockets of the hardworking taxpayers, I say one thing: the party's over. The party's over with the taxpayers' money, and we're going to start putting money back into your pocket instead of the sweetheart deals to the insiders and the cushiony jobs to all their friends that we've seen over the 15 years. And I can tell you that they will do anything, the Liberals, and say anything and promise anything to stay in power. But the Vic, as you know, the people are a lot smarter than the Liberal government. And under the Liberals, the North has been left behind. Kathleen Wynne does not care about the people in the North. Kathleen Wynne is worried about her establishment and all her insiders that she surrounded herself down at Queen's Park. We have the Hydro One CEO is being paid $4 million while families in the North can't even afford to keep their heat on. They have a choice between heating and eating, and that's unacceptable. While workers in downtown Toronto are finding good-paying jobs, the North is struggling. And the Wynne Liberal cuts have given the region second-tier health care. Just last month, I heard the story when I was in Sudbury. I couldn't believe it. So just last month, like when I was in Sudbury, I spent, someone I heard spent 10 days in a hospital bathroom. That's staggering. I've seen animals treated better than that. That's inhumane. And the Liberals' cuts to the Northlander passenger rail, leaving many communities in the North with a way to get around. I always believe is you provide people with proper transportation. It just opens their lives up for employment, for entertainment. When we bring the train back, they're going to be able to find good-paying jobs that might be a half an hour away, but it gives them that opportunity to find good employment. Now, the Ring of Fire has been a broken promise for years. We've heard the Liberals keep talking about it. I'm tired of talk. We're going to start building roads. There's billions of dollars of chromite up there that needs to be mined. We just have to get there. In January, the Liberals named Ottawa Vanier, an MPP, Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry. And I've been saying on this whole campaign, you don't put someone that doesn't have a clue about forestry and mining in charge of forestry and mining. And the last time I checked, forestry and mining is not booming in Ottawa. So we're going to make sure the minister understands mining and forestry when we're in government. And it shows how out of touch the Liberals are. And my message today is very clear. Northern Ontario can count on the PCs. Under the PC government, Northern Ontario will have a strong voice. Northern Ontario will be open for business. Northern Ontario will have lower hydro bills. Northern Ontario will have shorter wait times, better health care. And Northern Ontario will see an end to the sweetheart deals of Kathleen Wynne's millionaire friends and more money in your pocket instead of the government's pocket. But Northern Ontario will have a very, very big say in every decision made at Queen's Park. And to Kathleen Wynne, your days are numbered because the Ontario PCs are ready to take back this province for the taxpayers. And my friends, we're just getting started. So thank you very much, and we'll open up for questions now.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. We will now take questions from the telephone lines. We ask that you limit yourself to one question. If you have a question and you're using a speakerphone, please lift your hands up before making your selection. If you have a question, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad. If at any time you wish to cancel your question, please press the pound sign. Please press star 1 at this time if you have a question. There will be a brief pause while the participant registers for questions. Thank you for your patience. The first question is from Greg Estabrooks of your TV North Bay. Please proceed, sir.
Good morning, gentlemen. Doug, the Liberals have gutted health care across the province, and especially in the riding of Nipissing, and yet they're still very, very much in debt. How can you restore nursing jobs and healthcare jobs in the North and yet not get further into debt? What's your plan for that?
Oh, that's a good question, Greg. And funny enough, I just got off the phone from John Yakabashi, the MPP, and up in Nipissing. Had a good chat with him literally minutes ago. There's a hospital in Toronto called Humber River Hospital. It's the first digital hospital in North America. And as I've been talking to doctors and nurses that have been under full attack, and make no mistake about it, it's been full attack from the Liberal regime, going after the best doctors and nurses in the world. We're going to use the same format. Humber River is the first digital hospital in North America. It has the shortest wait times in Canada. They drive efficiencies through technology, best practices, and lean practices. And every single doctor that I talk to, they come up to me and said, Doug, there's hundreds and millions of dollars of savings as long as we have our input. And who better to have their input but doctors? They're the ones on the front lines, not some politician that doesn't know healthcare like the doctors do. And we're going to get their input. So we have a team of doctors we put together, led by Dr. Ruben Devlin. He was instrumental right from ground floor building this hospital and putting in systems. And he has a great plan that we'll be unveiling to the public on how we're going to make sure that we reduce wait times and increase healthcare just simply by listening to the doctors. They know it better than I know it. They know it better than the rest of our team. We're going to start listening for once. They're going to have a voice.
Thank you. The next question is from Bob Coles of Rogers Radio News. Please proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Ford, my question is more about how you get your message out across the North, because, people I talk to, friends of mine who have voted Liberal in the past, they're not sure about what's all happened in your party the last few months. You've gone from Mr. Brown, then Mr. Fedeli, who's very popular in this riding, to yourself now as leader. So how do you get the message? How do you give voters confidence that if they do change votes and go from Liberal to PC, they won't regret that decision?
Well, Bob, I appreciate the question. You look at the history. All people have to do is look back 15 years. Are they better off in the last 15 years than they are today, or are they going to give another opportunity? An opportunity for great leadership through Vic and the rest of the team members we have up there. And I'd say, give us a chance. I'm going to be crisscrossing the North like you've never seen before. I'm going to be hitting the towns and cities all across the North and reaching out to the people, listening to their concerns, working hand in hand with the local MPPs. And we're going to make this the most prosperous region in North America to do business. In Ontario, we have to start building the roads, building the infrastructure, and the Liberals have just ignored it. There's billions of dollars sitting there, and they haven't even begun to, as I say, start up the bulldozer to start plowing the roads. If I have to hop on that bulldozer myself with Vic on the other one, we're going to start building the roads. To get to the mining, it's over $60 billion up there. It's going to benefit local people, but it's also going to benefit everyone in Ontario. So it's a great investment. We're going to make that investment. But the difference between us and the Liberals, we don't talk. We're doers. So when we get in there, we're going to start doing and stop talking and start creating economic prosperity up in the North. It's comparable. This is comparable to the oil sands in Alberta. We have the chromite up there that's waiting to be mined, and we can't get to it. So enough of talking. We're gonna be full of action, and we're gonna get up there and start mining.
Thank you. The next question is from Michael Erskine of Manitoulin Expositor. Please proceed.
Hi, Michael.
Hello. How are you doing, Vic?
Let's talk.
Good, Mike. Good to talk to you. Mr. Ford, we have a swing bridge here in Manitoulin, the oldest structure on a provincial highway in the province. There's been some funding applied to studying to replace that, but it's got to be expensive, and so is a lot of the infrastructure work that you're going to be doing across the province, from what you've just said. How do you plan to finance that?
Well, like I've been saying, you've seen billions and billions of dollars wasted under this Liberal regime, just absolutely wasted. Everyone knows, you've heard these figures, that we're paying $12 billion a year on our debt. There's $311 billion, the most indebted region in the entire world. We have to start driving efficiencies. And when I ask anyone, and when I was up north, and when I was in the Sioux, and Thunder Bay, North Bay, and crisscrossed the north there, I asked the folks up there, I said, do you think there's 4 cents of waste out of every dollar the government spends? Every single person, Michael, that I spoke to up there broke out laughing and said only 4 cents. 4 cents on a $141 billion budget is close to $6 billion. Not to mention when we attract new companies, there's going to be new revenues up to the provincial coffers there. And we're going to run it like a business and make sure that we drive efficiencies, and we'll watch every single penny that the government spends, because we're going to start respecting the taxpayers. So we're going to find efficiencies. We're going to make sure that we start infrastructure on the mining sector up there. We're going to generate more income through the mining sector as well. And then we're going to have to focus on making sure that we put it into infrastructures. And on the swing bridge, and I'm honest, if I'm not familiar with something, Michael, I ask you straight out, what is the estimations on this swing bridge up in Manitoulin? Michael, are you there?
I'm afraid that we're taking only one question, no follow-up. Do you want me to retrieve his line, sir?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting his answer. Maybe Vic can answer if he knows. But again, bridges, roads, they're critical.
Mr. Erskine, thank you. Mr. Erskine, your line is now open.
They haven't actually figured out how much it's going to cost. It's going to be significant, which is why they're putting a few $1 million into a study to figure out the best route and how to replace it.
You know, I love that last comment there, Michael. I actually don't love it, but I understand what you're saying. And this sounds like the city of Toronto that is in. They're going to spend a few $1 million. Just think of that, a few $1 million to figure out what's the best way to replace it. I don't believe sitting there spending millions of dollars. Let's come up with a plan that doesn't cost millions of dollars and put those millions into actual infrastructure, because there's no way, it should be taking millions of dollars to figure this out. They get all their consultant buddies and all these other characters up there to come up with a figure of millions of dollars. It's not going to cut it. We're going to have to find efficiencies, because it doesn't take millions of dollars to figure out which route or which bridge works the best. We're going to find out the best for the community. We're going to support the community, because that sounds like a critical bridge for the community, and we're going to get moving on it.
Thank you. Once again, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad if you have a question. The next question is from Harold Carmichael of Sudbury Star. Please proceed.
Good morning, Doug and Vic. Highway 69, 4-laning, Sudbury to Toronto, it's years behind schedule. Are you committed to finishing it and getting it back on track?
Well, since I've been doing all the talking, I'm going to pass this one over to Vic.
Look, absolutely. There's a lot of issues that have come up with Highway 69. We've heard announcement after announcement after announcement, and the government's pretty good at photo ops, but not so good at completing these projects. So, this is a critical piece of infrastructure. It's a highway that all governments, I think, need to be committed to completing.
Thank you. The next question is from Glenn Gillis of Kidney Express. Please proceed.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks so much for speaking to the northern media. It's very nice.
Well, thank you. We'll do this more often, actually.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
I have a question with respect to the Ring of Fire. The Liberals have said one of the reasons why they have delayed any serious push on the Ring of Fire so far is they want to make sure they do things right and all the stakeholders and the First Nations are all properly consulted. So can you advise if the PCs would actually have a timeline for going in and building a road and getting the infrastructure put in?
Well, we're going to put this as the highest priority with First Nations. Chief Clifford Bull, I think he'll be definitely part of those communications, along with Vic as being one of the leaders in the north. Sit down and make sure it's beneficial for everyone. The First Nations, other towns and areas around the north, everyone's going to benefit. And that's what everyone has to see, the payback for building the infrastructure. We're willing to put the money in to get things moving and cut all the red tape and cut all the bureaucracy. Because do you know what takes the most time, folks, is all the red tape and bureaucracy and all the nonsense that goes on. Let's cut out the red tape, cut out all the bureaucracy, and let's start getting the shovels on the ground. Government drives me absolutely crazy. They sit there and go around and around. My friends, I come from the private sector. You start going around and around, you'll be out of business. We're going to treat this the urgency like we're in the private sector. You have to deliver. You have to deliver a project. You have to deliver it on time. You have to be held accountable. And that's the way we're running the government. But we're going to make sure that we consult with everyone first without moving. But those consultations we're going to put in high gear and make sure that everyone understands, which I believe they already do. Everyone understands the urgency of this matter. It's absolutely critical. There's a mine up there with $60 billion sitting in it. Man, I'll tell you, I'd be up there with a shovel myself and digging it. But to answer your question, right away, we're going to start moving on this immediately.
Thank you. The last question is from Elaine de la Masia of So Star. Please proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Ford. As you know, in Sault Ste. Marie, the city's largest employer, Algoma, has been in CCAA protection. Your call cannot be completed as dialed. That's had some negative impacts on the community itself. It's significantly weakened business, investor confidence, community confidence, pensions are at stake, etc. If elected, what will you do to help push this company out of the bankruptcy protection process, and what help will you provide Algoma to ensure that it's not in this position again?
Yeah, well, I was up in the Sioux, and I was speaking to Representative Ross Romano. I'm not too sure, Ross, if you're on the line or not, but that's one of his major concerns, and we're going to do everything we can to help the people up there. We're going to try to sit down and see how we can be of assistance to Algoma, and I'm going to, since it's the last question, I'm going to let Vic finish this off.
Well, I appreciate that, Doug. Look, it's not just the bankruptcy protection. It's all of the pressures that have been on the companies. When you've got the highest electricity rates in North America, when you've got so many business pressures being put on you, when Sergio Marchionne, the CEO of Fiat Chrysler, said to the Premier of Ontario more than a year ago, "You have created the most expensive jurisdiction in North America in which to do business. This is what's hurting us." Whether it's the red tape that Doug talked about, or the electricity that Doug talked about, there's just so many pressures. We've just got to get back to business, and I think that's why Ontario is going to elect Doug Ford as our Premier. He stands up for the little guy. He's going to fight for us just the way he's continued to fight in the past. And I think that's exactly the spirit that we need to bring this confidence back to, whether it's SR or whether it's all the companies throughout the North, the 60 mills that have closed, that type of thing. They've all left because we're just not open for business anymore. And I know that Doug is going to make Ontario open for business.
Not to mention, Vic, that terrible carbon tax is terrible for the people of Ontario and right across Canada. It makes us uncompetitive. We're going to make sure that we're competitive again. And I can tell everyone listening, when we get elected, when the PC party gets elected, a new day will dawn in Ontario, a day of prosperity, a day of growth, the prosperity this province has never seen before. We're going to make sure that we make it attractive for companies to come to Ontario and open business, and we look forward to working with smaller companies and entrepreneurs that have found it tough to work in Ontario and make their businesses prosper. We will make them prosper, like this province has never seen before.
And hello, sorry, Doug, it's Ross on the call.
Oh, Ross, how are you, my friend? This is Ross. Go ahead. Why don't you jump in here on this? Since it's your hometown there.
Right. Yeah. It's certainly a very concerning area for us in the community, and it's left people in this community for the last several years feeling a sense of there's a hopelessness, a sense of concern. There's people being a little bit afraid to invest in the economy locally because of the situation being uncertain. So I know that one of the primary things that or you'll be hearing me say is we need to do some pension reform. It's a major area of concern with the community. It's a significant hurdle that we need to overcome, and something that the Liberals have been too long, and SR has suffered as a result. And it's important. Yeah.
That's great. Sounds like you're breaking up a little bit, Ross. Maybe it's my phone, but you're breaking up. The commentator, are you there?
Yes, his line was cutting off. I confirm. So sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. But it's great. I'll tell you, Ross is a great representative. I've been up there and saw his work ethic, and he'll break down a brick wall for the people of Sault Ste. Marie to make sure he's going to be fighting and having their voice heard. And I'll be standing right beside him, and along with Vic and the rest of the team that we have up there. We have an incredible team up north. They're going to make sure your voice is heard, and you're going to have a big part of changing this province with us.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to it.
Thank you. The commentator, are you there?
Thank you. So this concludes the conference. I would now like to return the meeting back over to Mr. Jeffries. Please proceed, sir.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Obviously, Northern Ontario is a key priority for the Ontario PC Party, so we look forward to being in touch in the near future.
That's
Have a great day, everybody.
Let's do these again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Prosperity is coming to Ontario.
Thank you. The conference has now...